This is a 4-step system on how you can read and apply practical books more effectively into your life. And I won't waste your time. I'll dive into the 4 steps immediately, and then after I'll explain the theory and use some examples on how it works. So the first step, as you would expect, is to just go through the book and apply all the arguments of analytical reading. Find out what the author's message is. Find out what the things he proposes are and what he wants you to do and how he wants you to get there. And that's how you would read any other book, really. You just find those arguments, find the important words, the important sentences, and see what is the author saying, essentially. And I want you to place some emphasis on the methods used themselves, because this is a practical book, which means the author is directing us in some direction and providing us some sort of help and guidance on how to get there. So we want to specifically focus, or at least emphasize, the methods he applies and the theory behind them. Now, as you read through the book, there will be theory that supports the practical element. Like, why should we do this? Is it worthy to pursue this goal? If we are to pursue this goal that we're not convinced of, then how can we know it's the right thing to do in the first place? There needs to be some sort of groundwork for then allowing us to be convinced by it and then moving on. Most of the time in practical books, the author wants us to be able to follow the points easily. And so they'll divide the book into neat categories, saying this chapter explains this idea and this chapter explains the next idea. And they might have practical elements embedded within. But in this case, we're looking for the theoretical arguments. And what you have to do is take one of these tags, specifically a blue one. I like to use blue, but the color doesn't matter. And then put them next to the main theoretical point of each chapter, let's say. And there could be multiple in one, but the point is to be selective. In step 3, it's the same idea. When we encounter a practical point this time, we use a red tab to identify it. And of course, these aren't red. That's not the point. We pick a color and use it to identify what we see as something we can take action on. And it could be explicit. It could be the author, after having identified or explained the theory behind a point, gives us exact real-life steps we can use to apply it. And other times it will be more discreet, and it's up to us to infer the practical element. And I'll show you an example later, but again, the point is to make it easier for us in the future when we have to distill the book for the key points. So step 4 is the most crucial part of this, and it's actually distilling those notes and doing something with them, taking them into the real world and actually changing our lives. Because it's easy to just let them die on the bookshelf and we never see them again. And we feel like we've done something because we've finished the book, but in reality, it's not fulfilled unless we go and do something with it. So the next step is finding a way that personally works for you to go out and apply them. And that's beyond the scope of this video, the exact way in which we would go and do that. But what I like to do is I have a Notion page, and I might even put it in the description. And it's essentially dividing it into daily habits, weekly habits, monthly. And it's like a drop-down list, sort of to-do lists. And when I find something that I should be doing as a weekly habit or even daily, I would put it there and just say what I need to do and maybe point to some pages on how to do it. And then from there, I have another to-do list where if there's a one-off takeaway that I learned, a one-off step to take, I just put it there. So that's now something for me to do, and it's just there easily for me to see. And all the lessons I learned from the books go there in this one centralized area, so it's easy. Now, if I have to use an example, is I read something in a book that was how we should get rid of all the material possessions we own that don't serve us well, so we can focus on what truly matters. And the practical takeaway from that was just sell all the stuff you don't use that just sits around and creates clutter. And then I put that into the one-off category of my Notion page. And then it's simple. You move that to the to-do list, and suddenly you have an easy way to just see the lesson there. Or another example could be, this is common advice in the self-development sphere, but it's to start things that you've been putting off. So instead of starting them later and regretting that you didn't start earlier, just start today and see how it goes, and you'll learn on the fly. And one of the points when that was going on Twitter and using that daily, or X now rather. So what I did was I put in the daily section, tweet daily, and then I put the pointers on how to write an effective tweet. And from there I could easily see what I had to do on the day. Just maybe in the morning I would check that page and see, okay, this is the few things I should focus on today. And sure, that's not a very important one, but it helped me, and it helped me actually apply that and make it a habit. And now I'm writing Twitter posts every day, and they're not going anywhere. But the point is that I know now that the lesson is, if we start early, we can not regret that we didn't start earlier in the future. And it worked. And this system worked for me, and I hope it works for you too. The most recent practical book I read was this, How to Take Smart Notes. And it talks of a quite niche and new and exciting note-taking system called the Zettelkasten, and how we can use that to write better, essentially. And because this is quite a novel idea to many people, including myself, there's quite a lot of theory in there. It's quite thick, actually. And the bulk of the book is not exactly how to apply the tips. It's rather the theory that justifies them, that convinces the reader, okay, this is worth pursuing and this is worth doing. And for example here, let me see, I put a blue tag on this one. It describes how we can transfer ideas into an external memory storage almost, which is the Zettelkasten. And that allows us to forget the information itself and focus on the wider picture, forming connections. And so there's the blue tag there, as you can see. And it sticks out for me so I can see it and close the book and just flick back to it. And it's the same for the pink tab. This paragraph was on how to write the paper step by step. So how to take our notes from the Zettelkasten and the whole workflow we need to go from a single note or a single page in a book, and how we would process them in order to get to the final product, which is a piece of writing. You'll notice that I only have 2 here because I didn't actually apply this system to this book individually, but I did a similar thing where I wrote them in the book itself. This just helps you find them after, but it's the same idea. And once I had finished that, I could then go back and see exactly what I had to do, and I did it. And now I have a Zettelkasten that works pretty well, I think, and without this system, I would have been more lost. I would have not known exactly where to look and what to do after having read the book and finished it. So it just really helps you distill and take action on the key things you need. I'll use one more example just to make it clear. And let's say we have a fictional book on how to improve your writing. Now, when someone picks that up, they probably are already convinced that they want to write more. And because why would someone pick up a book on how to write better if they don't want to write in the first place? Now, maybe they are seeking to be convinced, but in the majority of cases, they already want to write and they're looking for advice on how to help them. Now, let's say in that book, the first chapter was explaining the importance of consistency and practice. Now, there's 2 types of readers who come across that. There's one who thinks, hold on, why should I have to practice consistently? I want to get better at writing without doing this. And the other type of reader is the one who says, okay, I accept that I should practice consistently, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. And in the first case, for the first group of readers, they have to be convinced that it's even worth pursuing in the first place. And those are the theoretical points that we have to underlie. Because ideally, the author will seek to encourage us. They'll say why consistency is so important. They'll use theory, they'll use science, they'll use their experiences. And that will help us then be convinced of the practical point, so we can then apply it. And in the latter case, where the reader already thinks it's true, then they're just going to look for the practical points. Maybe it's easier said than done to just write more. So the author splits it up into 10 pointers, and that allows them to then go on and apply it. And that's the point. That's why there is theory in practical books, because some readers have to be convinced. And that's why we use 2 different colours, because we need to identify the theory that underlines the action and the action itself. And I hope that system works for you and you see the theory behind it and how it can help you actually achieve more in your reading and go out and impact your life, how it can change your life, because too often we read without any follow-up. We read just feeling like we've improved and feeling like we've done something, but in reality, only once we go out there and take action has the book been truly finished in a way. And I hope that helps for you. Thanks for watching.